All right, we are so excited to have the Pacers Sports Group here. I am here with Rick Schultz, our CMO, and Jared Chavez, Manager of Data Engineering and Strategy at Pacers. So why don't we start off, explain what the big umbrella of Pacers Sports Group is.
Yeah, it's ever growing, it feels like. Pacers Sports and Entertainment has the Indiana Pacers, obviously it's our namesake, Indiana Fever, which has been on a rocket ship the past couple years, as well as formerly the Indiana Mad Ants, now the Noblesville Boom. They're relocating out to the suburbs in a new arena by the end of the year. And then we also have a wonderful foundation and Gamebridge Fieldhouse, which is currently doing what feels like endless numbers of events. I'm sure there's about 300 plus concretely a year on top of everything else going on.
Well, thanks for joining us, Jared, and thanks again for being a Databricks customer. And I want to start by saying congratulations on having the Pacers in the NBA Finals. That's very hard for me to say as a lifelong Knicks fan. I'm still having nightmares, but I am actually fascinated to also talk to you about the business side of the house and all the things your organization does with fan insights, fan analytics, sponsor analytics, and really figuring out how you drive the revenue in the business.
Absolutely, yeah. It's changed a lot over the 3 years since we moved over to Databricks. Currently, I think the biggest swings we've really taken, will be taking this year, is around ticketing, hopefully, now that we have all of our, not just every customer-facing data point capturing around the business, but also for ticketing especially, getting multiple feeds in, not just for events and all of our basketball teams, but soon getting also real-time, hopefully sub-minute feeds so we can start assisting in pricing goals that we'll see how realistic we can get with them this year. It's going to be largely dependent on our ability to get down to what I'm hoping will be seat-level pricing and keeping ourselves competitive with the secondary market, but also hopefully assisting with getting inventory moving a bit faster. On the business as a whole, I think the biggest impact, honestly, has been seeing the end-to-end engagement of our fan base. So SMS to email. SMS is brand new for us on the data capture. We just pulled that in January, thanks to our wonderful vendor at Attentive getting that online for us. As well as being able to plug that in with now retail and hopefully soon concessions once we get in-arena capture hooked up. But launching with one of your partners and a very close partner of ours, Salesforce, this year on their new Data Cloud CDP, getting all of that into one easy place, that's been transformative and hopefully will continue to be transformative, not just for data capture, but also ease of use. We're able to have a one-to-one copy of all of our data feeding from Databricks and vice versa into Salesforce. So everything that was previously locked behind the CRM and Marketing Cloud now lives in the Lakehouse. Everything in the Lakehouse now can live in Salesforce. And we're able to have our sales and marketing teams who aren't as technical, don't know how to code, able to leverage the same data as our analytics teams can programmatically.
And talk a little bit more about the kind of use cases that unlocks for the marketing team. And also you mentioned something about adding the, before the show when we were talking, you mentioned something about adding partner capture and how that actually also boosted the insights you're able to get in the
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the biggest change for us is obviously customer segmentation with how many brands we have and lookalike audiences. Ongoing effort to shore those up. We're working on a propensity project that I want to get our unified customer look built out, not just in the CDP, but also in the Lakehouse as well. And hopefully with some help with Databricks this year, along this summer, we're going to be starting on a full propensity matrix of not just independent revenue streams, but all of them across the brands, how they tie into customer activity across SMS, retail, so on, and ticketing most importantly. But on the partnership side, I think that was really, for us, the first time Databricks really shined. We were able to work with Nielsen, our television aggregator, alongside Blinkfire, our social aggregator, to get all of those feeds and data points into Databricks in one place, sync those up, and I'm not joking when I say that's probably saved 6 to 8 months of manual polling between those systems across multiple departments, getting our brand and partnership reporting out there. What was previously taking about a week plus, about 6 days for a larger brand, now can be pulled in about 2 minutes, and they can do it mid-meeting if they want. So that's been transformative for reporting times. We're also beginning to look in with propensities and other things. What do brand affinities look like? Where might we have gaps in the fan base that maybe we're not addressing with partnerships? What brands do we have that over-index and maybe we're not doing as much with as we could inside and out of the arena as well? But I'd say that was really the first time Databricks shone for us.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah, so great to hear. With the fan base, we have people from 140 countries. Hopefully, a lot of you know about the Indianapolis Pacers, but also the Fever. Caitlin Clark is like the hottest star in like female WNBA. So for both reasons, being in the finals, first time in 25 years, yes. And then the Fever and everything else, your fan base is growing, your sponsorships are growing, you're measuring that, but you also have use cases like on the sports side as well as the marketing and business side. So how's that like with the Caitlin Clark running on Databricks, so to say?
It's still very early days with On-Court with the Fever. Our wonderful analyst, Daniel Siegel, has been driving the front-end usage of that. We currently supplying what we hope is enough of the back-end data for not just the WNBA, but also international competitions. We grew from On-Court movement tracking coordinate-based systems to also the league's own APIs around play-by-play and so on. We took a bit of a plunge with a FIBA partner to see how much more we could push it. So now we have play-by-play capture and box scores, minimum box score capture on, I believe it's 80 competitions around the world. And we're working on bringing in coordinate capture of about another 120 by the looks of it. 300,000 games, I believe, is the goal by January. So in about all in, probably about 20 years of basketball. I want to see how much further back we can push that for modeling's sake, especially considering that I have to redo the math with the 44-game season this year, but as of last year, it took about 5 WNBA seasons to equal 1 NBA season's worth of data. So the more we can get our hands on, the better. But very early days on the on-court stuff. So far, largely just serving it and trying to capture as much as we can, get our analyst up to speed, but also trying to empower him to get everyone up and comfortable using data routinely on the Fever side. On the business side, I don't know if I have words for what has happened there.
I was going to say, the minute you drafted Caitlin Clark, I got to imagine it became the Fever became a global brand.
Really, yes. So I joined up 3 years ago. Fever have always had a bit of a soft spot with me. They were the first team I got to work with. I joined up in early March, sorry. So we had, I think, just traded for Halliburton. Wow. And Pacers' unfortunate season didn't work out. They looked like we had a glimpse, and of course we did very well the following year. But the Fever that year, I mean, I think we were lucky to see 1,200 people in the building on a Friday night at times. And then you had some nights that would do exorbitantly well. Aaliyah Boston came in prior to Caitlin Clark. We saw a nice rise come through the Fever, but Caitlin came in and blew the doors off the building. I mean, we're, as I said, Saturday night, maybe a couple thousand people with the Fever. Now on 1 p.m. on a Wednesday, 18,000, standing room only.
Wow.
The fan base has boomed. Everything's been chaos, but good chaos to figure out how to grow this brand and keep up with it, most importantly, but also make sure that we're still holding the show at a caliber we want to have. And credit to our game ops team for figuring out how to maintain that and keep that rolling. Thankfully, I will say, being in the NBA has kind of prepped you for this. It's more of a continuation. The off-season, not really a thing anymore with the Fever playing basketball, but these are great problems to have.
Absolutely.
It's super. So you and I have known each other for about 6 years now before I joined Databricks, and really honored to have seen you and the company mature along your data journey. So now you're doing everything from streaming data, structured data, unstructured data. And I wanted to talk on two things. One is like data engineering, then the other is ML flow. But one of my favorite stories is how you've reduced cost by transferring to Databricks. That's one of my favorite stories of all time for any customer.
Yeah, so on two different fronts. The first major hack when I came in, we were on a split, siloed warehousing situation. They didn't talk to each other. They were segmented throughout the business. Very oversized, worked, but difficult to integrate with. Tooling was always a bit of a mess, trying to figure out how to plug various things into it. The first major project, which I, looking back, cannot believe I said this 3 weeks into the job, was I need to rip all of it out and start over. I don't know how many organizations you walk into and let that happen, but fortunately we did make the call to go to Databricks, took a bet on you guys back when it was still Hive Metastore, I think it was pre-Unity catalog. Worked out amazingly for us, but a one-to-one comparison, I wish I had measured it. Realistically, by the time I had actually measured the cost difference, we were already 20 to 30 sources higher than the old warehouse. But even at that point, I think the case study said something around 57, 58 times the amount of data in the lakehouse in the previous warehouses. We had a 98% cost reduction with exponentially more data inbound. And on the machine learning side, which I know is another very ridiculous number that doesn't sound real. We went from a contracted vendor, and again, a bit oversized for the organization. Didn't fully know what we were trying to do with ML at that point, but moving it over to Databricks at the time, I think it was AutoML was the name, I think it still is the name of the feature, running through ML Flow. That dropped us from about $100,000 in ML expenses to, I think, $10 the first year. And now we've blown that number out of proportion with how many more ML workflows we're starting to build out. But the one-to-one comparison was that extreme.
And what are some of the ML use cases that you're running on ML Flow?
Sure. So the early ones were renewals, ticketing predictions, attendance predictions, game demand, so on. That's what was originally migrated in. Basketball has a whole bunch of other workflows. I'm not going to speak for Spencer Anderson's team on the Pacers side. They do a bunch of great work over there. But what we're starting to look into, aside from the propensity matrix I touched on, with all of our customers hopefully getting behavioral indexing around all of our brands, I'm hoping, if we're fortunate and we can get everything working the way we want, is to get a real-time ticket pricing tool for our arena. And the lowest I think I've seen, and credit to the Detroit Lions, I think they're the team that's accomplished it. They've gotten it down to row level. And they might have gotten it further. I haven't talked to them in a little bit, but last time they'd gotten it down to row level. I want to see if we can get by the seat. And not just having real-time predictive capabilities to say this seat on the second you market it around this price point, we should move here, try and make as much of our inventory move as competitively as possible, but also one of our star players just got hurt. What does this look like? How do we reprice in real time to make sure that we're not losing a huge movement of inventory? Our ticketing analytics director, Lucas Hunt, as well as Pat Darcy under there, we're going to hopefully work with them very closely on this in the coming months. Bit ambitious of a project, but hopefully we can pull it off. And we've got some other things on the generative front that we're still spitballing. One thing I'm hoping we can do, especially that you guys just have Claude up and ready for us to hit whenever we want in Databricks, is trying to democratize access to the infrastructure. As I said, with the marketing stuff, the CDP, it's been great. You can access things without having to program. What if you didn't need to use a tool at all is the next step for us. I want to have something that hopefully not just our analysts will get mileage out of going into meetings, but also our executives who are not technical can just ask and say, hey, how did we do in the arena last night? Yeah. Hopefully that generic, if we can get it, and it'll bring up their ticketing, retail, concession reports, as well as activity around how many people connected to Wi-Fi, how many people entered the arena, what did our brand engagement look like pre and post game, how many surveys were sent out, how many have been answered, what's current sentiment game to game. That's what this season's project is.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, your marketing team is going to love Genie. We use Genie in our marketing department at Databricks, which is about 200 people. And our marketing Genie allows me and other non-technical users, I mean, my SQL is pretty rusty at this point, but is like to ask any questions of the data. It's basically conversational analytics that understand your data. It's actually already trained and reasoned on our data. So it kind of knows what we mean when we say, like, show me the best campaign we ran other than the Data and AI World Tour or whatever in the last like 3 quarters. It spits out an answer in terms of pipeline, in terms of attendance. It's just a game changer for non-technical marketing users to be able to get quick answers.
Yeah, and I know we're talking the sports, but every single industry out there, AI BI Genie and AI BI dashboards is that great democratization. Data intelligence for all, where Rick, CMO, uses it, I use it, our analyst relation team uses it to answer questions. But for the Pacers, it's trained on your own data in your own semantics, just using natural language, and you get the feedback loop. So every time subsequently people use it, you get smarter and smarter. So it's great. You get the Databricks foundation, and then using the AI BI capabilities, it democratizes for incredible intelligent insights. And so we have just a couple minutes left. Any final thoughts from both of you?
I'm curious, what's the big next project you're most excited about?
Well, aside from hopefully getting this infrastructure-wide chat system built out, I would love to see, I don't quite know how we'll do it yet, but with our campus expanding into multiple buildings, especially multiple venues, one of which is almost 40 minutes away, I believe, would love to figure out if we can get just a customer-facing general service agent. I think I was at the Cosmopolitan in Vegas, and I've stayed there many times. It's a behemoth of a building to figure out where everything's at, and their agent was able to navigate me around pretty well. I'd love to see if we can not only do that for navigation, but also inventories. So if you're looking for a specific item from one of our brands, whether it's the Fever, the Boom, the Pacers, or if we have a Concert Inn and they have their own merchandise, where is it tonight? Where can you get it? What's it currently priced at? How much is left? Can we maybe even get a step further and say, reserve it for me, so I can get into the arena, beat the lines a little bit, and check out either through a mobile experience, which I think we're still working on getting mobile set up through our apps, hopefully, but at the same time, can I just eventually just reserve it, walk in, pay for it, walk out, not worry and not sweat about whether or not I'm going to get it. Would also love, especially knowing that most fans maybe come to 1 or 2 games a season. Concessions a bit tough with the 3-level arena, especially when we have multiple arenas coming through and multiple venues happening in the future and a plaza on top of it. Where is it? What am I looking for? If I want pretzels, where is that? If I want hot dogs, where is that?
Yeah.
What level? I'm currently here. My seats are here. What's my best track to figure out where I want to go tonight? That's where I'm hoping we can get this season.
Well, you really have a range of fascinating use cases, and I want to thank you for, I'm glad you've had so much traction with adopting Databricks, and I want to thank you for making time to record this today. I really appreciate it, and
Absolutely.
wish the Pacers the best of luck in the finals.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for sharing your story. And yeah, it's the finals week. You're here at Databricks Summit. Thank you so much.